Now, and the Panthers are back on their home turf today as they face the Cincinnati Bengals. The real question is, will they score another victory? Here to answer those questions is Charlotte Sports Live's Mike Lissette, live from Bank of America Stadium. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, my man. Well, let's talk about it. Of course, there was the switch of QB1. Andy Dalton, he's going against his old team. So how's everything looking coming up to this week to the game?
You know, it's crazy. Just one game, how things can turn around. The atmosphere in the locker room, completely different than it was after the first two games. There's a lot of positivity. There's a lot of optimism. Andy Dalton did exactly what you'd expect a veteran quarterback to do. He took control of the team, and he made it work. He didn't do too much in that first game against the Raiders. A lot of his completions were short passes, but those were the passes that Bryce Young was missing, and it got the Panthers to the end zone, and that's all you could ask for. Carolina got that first win of the season. Now they're looking to make it 2 wins in a row.
Mike, let's go ahead and talk about some of the injuries, because one of those people that Andy Dalton threw a touchdown pass to was Adam Thielen. Now, we know that Thielen is not going to be in for the game, so that means some of those other people are going to have to step up. How's that working with some of those vets or starters being out?
Well, they got some problems. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, you take the good with the bad. The good meaning you get the win, but the bad is all the injuries. You're right. Thielen is not going to play today. Also, Damian Lewis, offensive lineman, is not going to play today. On top of that, Robert Hunt, another offensive lineman, he's banged up. He will play today, but that's going to affect the running attack, and the running attack was so strong last week against the Raiders. Another thing to consider is that receiver Deontay Johnson is dealing with an injury, so that's another option that Dalton threw to that he's going to have to work around. They do have Xavier Legette. He's a guy that's going to have to step up. Chandler Zavala is going to the offensive line. He's starting this week. So, again, guys are going to have to get ready and take their game to the next level if Carolina is indeed going to have that first win streak of the season.
Yeah, we were watching some of the highlights there of last week with everything looking good. And you know what's always looking good, Mike? Not just you on the field, but the show that you guys have coming up at 10 o'clock, Bbkl. What do you guys have coming up?
Well, a lot of stuff, actually. We are going to go one-on-one with Andy Dalton. We're going to talk all about it. Remember, this is an opportunity for him not only to get another start, but he is facing his old team, the Cincinnati Bengals, a team he took to the playoffs multiple times. He's faced him before, but you got to believe it's always special when you can go against your old team, the team that essentially dumped him in the past. So even though he says, you know, it's not a revenge game, in the back of your mind, you're always thinking, I got to give these guys something special. We're also doing something special in terms of traditions in the NFL. One of the things that happens at the end of every game is you see guys on the field, they're high-fiving, they're taking pictures, but they're also trading jerseys. Now, this is hard-hitting journalism, let me tell you, first of all. But we are going to talk about the ins and outs about trading jerseys in the NFL, what goes into doing it. It's not just, hey, man, can I get your jersey? There's a process. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what the players have to do to clear it with the team. There's actually a bit more to this story than just, here you go. So looking forward to that. We're coming at you at 10 a.m. this morning.
Sounds good, Mike. We should have talked about trading ties. Then we could have been holding ties up on the field or something like that when we got done with this interview.
I like that plan.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mike. We'll see you guys at 10 a.m. And Jim,
Gabe, let's be honest here. After Bryce Young in the first two games, there was nowhere to go but up for your Carolina Panthers. But then in comes Andy Dalton, and he just completely blows all expectations out of the water. He didn't look like a 36-year-old backup. He looked like a Pro Bowler again. Against the Raiders last week, he was absolutely dominant. We're talking 319 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did what you expect a 14-year veteran would do. Dalton was in control, and everyone else just sort of followed his lead. Now, it certainly helped the running attack was working as well, but credit Dalton for working in play action as well as the deep ball. Dalton was all business against Vegas, and his coach expects more of the same today against Cincy. But, as Dalton fully admits, there's a little something extra on his mind today, too.
It's football. You go and you work hard.
Going against his old squad. Here's a deep dive, though, going back to last week. Dalton finished with over 300 yards passing. But as I mentioned before, he did get helped 436 total yards of offense for Carolina, including 131 of it on the ground. Now, one thing to point out here, the Panthers were not that great in the end zone. They were just 3 for 5. That had to have been a point of discussion going into today. Back to Dalton, though, for his efforts. He was named the FedEx Air Player of the Week. Guys, I have a feeling that Carolina is hoping for another MVP-like performance today.
Absolutely, Mike. Appreciate it. Now we know it is Legends Weekend.
Back at the bank as we get set for the 8th regular season matchup between the Panthers and the Bengals. Currently, the series is tied 3-3-1. This is Cincinnati's first trip to Charlotte since the 2018 season. They've not done all that well here, with Carolina winning 3 of 4 matchups. Kickoff for today's edition is set for just after 1. Well, as far as game balls go, you can't be giving out game balls without giving one to Mike Jackson. Against the Raiders, he had a thriller of an interception in the fourth quarter, not to mention a number of key pass breakups. That INT, by the way, is worthy of our play of the week. Had 9 solo tackles, and it has to go down as the 6-year vet's best day as a pro. Through 3 games this year, Jackson has already tallied 17 total tackles and 4 passes defended over 186 defensive snaps. However, if you think he's about to rest on his laurels, you had better think again.
I can't speak for everybody else, but for me, it's kind of like every week is a new week. So just let the past go and just correct what you messed up on. It's just football, so like don't make it what it is, because no matter if they on 3 or 3-0, like on Sunday they're gonna put the ball down. Like no matter if you're 3-0, you get a head start or nothing like that. So you just play ball.
All right, staying with defense, while it's still true the Panthers have allowed the second most passing touchdowns in the league with 7, they have jumped out of the basement when it comes to passing yards allowed. Through 3 games, they're now 17th in the league. Last year, they had the 3rd best passing yards allowed per game, which is 171.5. Big Mike Jack already tied for 5th in the NFL with 4 passes defended this season. Believe it or not, Josie Jewell is right behind him with 3. Now, it should be pointed out the Panthers will be a man down in the secondary. Jordan Fuller is on the IR. He will be out for at least 4 weeks. That leaves an opening for the guy filling in for him today. And for more on that, we go back upstairs to Gabe and Carla.
We've been talking with some players about a subject that maybe a lot of collectors out there would be interested in.
Oh, you know I love this one. I'll tell you what, Carla, for a league that's been around since 1920, the NFL has shown time and time again it's not afraid to adopt a new tradition. Many come and go, but the ones that stay, like this next one, usually have a lot more meaning to it than meets the eye. J.J. Jansen isn't sure how it got started, but he has his theories.
It just kind of became a thing, like with soccer, with basketball, like all of a sudden, like you start doing it.
The Panthers' long snapper isn't alone. All over the league it's happening, and not everyone likes it.
Your wife might be like, hey, we got enough. She might be the one to make the cutoff, but for us, I think you can never have enough.
Spoken like a true collector. And in the NFL, the hunt is on for jerseys. In fact, the post-game swap has become almost as common to the players as the coin toss.
I think more so as a sign of respect. I mean, like, if you're going to get a collector's item, I think the top of the list is going to be a game-worn jersey.
Now, one may think all there is to swapping jerseys is simply swapping jerseys.
Good game.
Hey, good game to you. Yeah. Turns out, though, there's much more to it. The first step is the ask. Traditionally, it's done days in advance.
In general, I think guys know each other, have talked about it before, you know, send a guy a text or a DM.
Much like with dating, rejection can happen, especially if the request comes at the last minute.
It's nothing like really big, but you know, you only get one jersey a game, and they already gave theirs away.
Once the trade is made, there's the matter of telling the equipment manager and paying the bill. After all, jerseys don't grow on trees.
The team already knows that it's a possibility, so they always have jerseys in stock, and like I said, they always have that invoice ready to go.
Ultimately, what happens next to the jersey is up to the player.
I think guys really like the opportunity to hang a bunch of jerseys on the wall.
If nothing else, they've got a great story.
When I'm old and retired and done, here's a list of my friends and guys that I played with around in the league.
Theirs is a tradition that has no true beginning, and apparently no end either. All All right, and while I've been unable to get it confirmed by the Panthers, I have been told that each jersey, this authentic, beautiful jersey here, usually runs about $500. So, guys, it is a very expensive hobby, but from my own personal opinion, definitely something that I think worthy of an investment.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Carla, it has only been one game, just one game, but Andy Dalton has completely turned around the attitudes of the Carolina Panthers. We saw it in the locker room after the game against the Raiders, and we saw it throughout the entire week. But now comes another element. Dalton is actually facing against his old team, the same Bengals that he took to the playoffs multiple times. Now, you'd think he'd be extra amped for this revenge game, but in fact, that is not the case. He says it's just business as usual. And right now, business is enjoying a second chance as the main man under center. So far, he's doing great. Last week, Dalton became the first quarterback in the NFL this year with 200-plus yards and 3 touchdown passes in a first half. It was the most by a Panthers quarterback in a first half since Cam Newton had 3 in Week 15 of the 2015 season against the Giants. Carolina will be counting on him again today, but the 14-year vet is not letting the pressure get to him.
No, it's obviously fun. A ton of memories for me in Cincinnati, and there's still some coaches that are there that that were there when I was there. So it's just going to be nice to kind of get to catch up with them and get to see them. So I mean, when you see Cincy on the schedule, it's like I've had it every year except last year. So it's always fun to get the opportunity to go against them.
And Dalton has actually done pretty well against this old team. He's gone 2-1 against them for 403 yards. So that's pretty good. Important to note, no interceptions against the Bengals, which he also did not have any interceptions against the Raiders last week. And guys, you know that is a trend he is looking forward to continuing today.
All right, thanks so much, Mike. Now time to bring in.
Well, before we saw Chuba's jersey, now here's Chuba. Panthers' track record against the Bengals, meanwhile, is pretty good. In fact, Week 14 of the 2002 season saw the Panthers score a franchise record 52 points against Cincinnati. Steve Smith led the way with 3 touchdowns, including 2 punt returns in the 52-31 victory. Maybe we should be looking at Raheem Blackshear to take one back today. Kickoff is just set for after 1 o'clock. Well, time for the wideouts to step up. They've got to because veteran Adam Thielen is out. Thielen was placed on the injured reserve Tuesday after suffering a hamstring injury during the Raiders win. He stretched out for a 31-yard touchdown right before halftime and did not return after getting hurt on the play. Jordan Fuller was also placed on the IR, which means both he and Thielen will miss at least the next 4 weeks. Here's who else is sitting out. Right guard or Damian Lewis, nose tackle Shy Tuttle, and special teamer Lonnie Johnson won't play against the Bengals. All 3 missed the entire week of practice. Robert Hunt, Deontay Johnson, and A'Shawn Robinson are all listed as questionable. The trio was limited in Friday's practice. However, after the game, all the guys who were listed on IR before the start of the season are eligible to come off of it. That includes rookie running back Jonathan Brooks and tight end Ian Thomas. Here's what Panthers head coach Dave Canales had to say about that.
Yeah, just the progression of them. We're ramping them up.
All right, one more injury to note. Nick Scott has been dealing with a quad injury. He was limited all week in practice, but will play. We got plenty more to come on Black and Blue Kickoff Live, including this. We've been promising it all morning. Now here it is, our exclusive one-on-one conversation with Andy Dalton. Plus, Julius Peppers will be in the house today, and it'll be for a pretty darn special reason. We'll tell you what new piece of hardware he's getting. That's when Black and Blue Kickoff Live continues. Well, Carla, all season long, I've been begging for the Panthers to show me something. And last week they did just that with Dalton in charge. They're a different team. That's why, for the first time this season, I'm going with Carolina to win today. What do you guys think?
Al, who are you going with?